So my friend sent me a box of makeup and I was like, eh. At the time, James Charles, if you guys have ever heard of him.
I know James Charles, yes.
Yes, he came out onto the internet as a creative makeup artist and he started painting his face and his body and all of that. I went, that's really cool. Let me try. Why not? Because I'm an artist. So I was like, why don't I just paint my body? Like, that'd be so cool. So I wind up actually buying his palette. I actually like bought a bunch of other makeup and I started painting myself every day. And then that's how I got into makeup. I was literally painting canvases like on my body and like recreating like all these like crazy things I was seeing on the internet of like movie scenes, like SFX makeup I got into and all this, but I could not do a full face of glam to save my life.
All right. Welcome to
Welcome.
another
I
episode of The Full Vagine.
Full Vagine here. We love
love
it.
it.
Yep, I'm Kristen. This is my co-host Tara,
Hello.
and we are super excited to have part 2 of our guest Jaycee's journey on.
Huh?
Yeah, I think if anybody watched our first one, it's about Jaycee's journey on a 5 organ transplant and her second chance at life. And so we wanted to talk about what happened after that. You know, we only made it up to um, the transplant then.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to the story, you know?
So much.
And so we wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that, about your
Yeah.
journey in cosmetology and makeup and hair and all the things.
Yes.
Love it because this part of the story, it's like so happy and it's so exciting and it's the most normal part of my life that's ever happened. But yeah, it just turns into like another tragedy as like in Kristen knows.
Yeah.
So it's like the craziest thing that like everything that's happened in the last 7 years, it's like I can't even believe it. Like genuinely. I still can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, after transplant, I was in recovery. I mean, I'm still in recovery technically, or like lifelong recovery. I think we talked about that in the last episode too, a little bit. How like just being a transplant patient, like you're never gonna be like perfect, but who is? So I wound up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I came home. We lived in Pittsburgh after a transplant for a little while because we needed to make sure that, if I needed help, we were right there near the hospital, so on and so forth. We lived in Pittsburgh for about, I think it was 7 months. We were supposed to be there for 6, but after transplant, I did unfortunately have a little bit of rejection. And so mid healing, there's actually like footage of this somewhere on the internet and like photos. My scar, they wound up having to cut out all of the cells that like regrew and like closed me up. And then all of them died because of this one anti-rejection medicine that I had to go on because of like signs of rejection we were seeing. Because obviously we wanted to save the transplant. And if anybody knows, like transplant patients are on lifelong anti-rejection meds. And there's like heavy hitter ones and then there's more like everyday ones, if that makes sense. So I was on this medicine. I had to take this medicine for like a couple weeks and we were scared out of our minds that, the transplant was going to reject. And all of my healing died. Like all of the cells literally died. So
God.
just midday, I think it was like a random Wednesday, one of my surgeons came in and he was like, hey kiddo, we got to cut all that out. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, you need to lay down. And he was like, we're going to give you some pain meds and you're not going to feel anything. So it's all dead skin. And he was like, but we need to do this now. My grandparents were there. Thankfully, they were in town in Pittsburgh. My grandparents were there. My mom was there. My grandparents stepped back. 10 people ran into my room. They laid me down. I'm screaming because I'm like, what are we talking about? And he was like, take a deep breath. And he was like, I'm going to cut it. And I was like, okay. And he literally just opened like on my bed and he just went in and just cut it out. His hand stuck his hand in my stomach and ripped out all these dead cells. I am screaming like on the top of my lungs. My grandparents were like too stunned to speak. My mom was like, Jay, it's gonna be okay. Like they wouldn't do this unless you need it. And he was like, we need to get new cells rebuilding now, like to close you up. Like we need to get this out. And he was like, or it's gonna cause more infection. So we wound up cutting that out. I'll never forget that. Thai is all else. They made me like
I don't
doped
think
up.
I'll ever forget that.
I don't think I will either. So they didn't even have time to like give you anything to relax you or
They did, like, very quickly. I had nurses, like, just shooting stuff, like, in my IVs and my central
yeah,
line, and it was very quick,
yeah.
like, narcotics to make me, like, high, but I'm so stubborn that I, like, fight medicine. That's, like, a problem I've always had, and so I'm laying there, like, grasping, like, my bed, and I'm like everyone's like, "Jay, it's gonna be okay, like, you shouldn't feel anything," and it was crazy because I didn't
But
feel anything.
it's just still scary.
It's the shock.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah,
literally
right.
the shock of seeing knife cut, and
And
it's like
hand in you, like yeah.
yeah, like, but we had to do it. So, my mom looked like she was about to faint. My
Oh,
grandma
I
was, like,
would've.
saying the rosary in the corner. Pop looked like he wanted to, like, pass out because, like, we all were just like, "What are you doing?" Like, this happened right after rounds.
So they didn't
Like
even take your mom and your grandparents out. They were just like,
oh,
"Stay
no,
back.
everybody was there.
We're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
like we gotta do this immediately."
Yeah, no, and no one also, like, they knew that, like, I was never gonna let anyone touch me unless they were there.
We were there, yeah.
Like, my team knew that, like, I need my mom in the room. Like, if
Right.
my mom's not in the room, you're not touching me. Like, you're
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, that's good too, you
Yeah,
know?
I wouldn't even let anybody take blood work. You know how, like, in the hospital, they take blood work at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, nope, wake mom up. Nope, like, you're not putting a needle in my arm at all until my mom is right next to me. Like, you're crazy to think. Yeah.
I love that when in the hospital, they're like, "Okay, get some sleep," and then every 2 hours, it's beep, beep, and then they're coming in and you're like, "Well, I'm not
Yes,
getting any sleep here, so no."
exactly.
Yeah.
After that day, well, actually, after that 20 minutes of craziness, they got a wound vac, like, that they would use in war, and they stuck this wound vac in my stomach, and that felt like a whole other ordeal. That was, like, trauma part 2 of that day, and they put this giant piece of tape across me, and they turned on the machine, and it went, and it sucked everything up, and I was like, "What is happening? Like, what is this?
God.
What is going on?" So they were like, "Well, think
You
about
felt
it."
that, right?
Oh, yeah, I felt everything, but it's all pressure. So, like, when you have, like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a C-section or if you guys, like, have talked
Yeah,
to
I had a
women
C
about C-sections,
yeah,
how
yeah,
it's all
Yeah.
pressure, like, you don't feel it, but it's all
yeah,
that pressure and, like, that shock that's happening to your body.
yeah.
That's what was happening to me.
My
So,
God.
yeah, it was, like, the craziest thing, and I remember my doctor Dr. Soltis is his name. If you guys ever wanna look him up, he's nuts, but I love him to death. He wears Converse, like, in the surgery room, and that should just tell you
Okay.
everything. Yeah, and he's a goofball. And he was like, "Listen, kiddo," and he was like, you've been closed for a little bit now, and, your cells are healing, and there's stitches, there was staples in my stomach, you know." So he was like, "What we need to do is, all that cells died. We need to get it out of you so your body can make new cells and we can actually close you up." So he was like, "We have to cut it out." And so when they cut it out and he literally grabbed it and ripped it out of me, it was just flesh. Like, you could see down, like, into me a little bit. And it was my stomach wall. Um, he said the wound
God.
vac, what it's gonna do is it's gonna sit on your stomach wall and it's gonna suck out all the infection as it keeps growing for the next few weeks. And he was like, and then it's gonna replenish the healthy blood and it's gonna put the blood and make new cells, but at the same time it's going to suck out all that other stuff. So
That's
then
amazing because you're literally open, right?
wait, and I'm
Yeah.
like full on walking around, I'm trying to eat. Like, I am full in, like, active recovery of, like, transplant, and this just happened. Yeah, it was the craziest thing, and I'll never forget that because skip to, like, I actually wind up having to be on it a little longer. My surgeon that found my organs, Dr. Sydney. Dr. Sydney, I was in clinic. We were living in an apartment at the time. Left the hospital, still had the wound vac, still healing, but they were like, "You need to be out of this hospital and you need to go live a little bit in the real world. Go get fresh air, start having a morning and night routine. You need to learn how to start coping outside of these walls." And I was like, "No." Like,
'Cause you have a wound vac, like, is it safe?
Yeah.
exactly. And they were like, "You'll be okay. Everything's going to be okay." By the time I got out, though, a lot of the new cells grew. Like, it was very, very,
Mhm.
very little bit that had to be
Okay.
there.
Okay.
And I think honestly, I only had like a week with it out of the hospital. And
Okay.
then we were, like, in clinic, and they were like, "I think you're good to go. Like, I think all of it's done and you're healing." Like, it was just crazy from seeing it all, like, black and, like, dead cells. Like, dead cells are disgusting looking, and it was all this new beautiful flesh. Like, you could see, like, the blood, like, wanting to, like, come up, like, the flesh actually being, like, flesh. Like, it was one of the craziest things watching all of that, like, come
Like
back to
your
life.
body regrow itself,
Yeah.
right?
It literally was. Yeah, like, watching my body literally regrow itself was
Plant,
crazy.
like a plant or
Right.
yeah, it's like
Right.
Body's amazing.
It's so incredible, and modern medicine is so crazy, and I'll never forget the last day in clinic. Dr. Sydney came in, and he was like, "How are you doing?" And, I'm, like, his, like, prize because I'm, like, the number 1 kiddo for him that has, like, the most success. So he came in, and he looked shocked to see the scar and see how much it's healed, and I'll never forget, he put his arms, like, on the table, and he was looking at it and, like, examining it, and he was like, "We didn't think that was gonna work." Me and my mom looked at him, and we said, "What?" And he was like, "We did not think that was gonna work." He said, "What a miracle."
My God.
My gosh. So behind the scenes, he's not saying anything. He's just praying and
Yeah,
hoping.
they're like not super, yeah,
They
feeling
were
like
like, "We have to try,"
confident.
and that was the first
That's
thing
what
they
I'm gonna
came
do.
up with. Yeah. So, like, that
Wow.
just goes to show, though, like, how, like, Dr. Kyle, Dr. Soltis, like, I call him Kyle because that's his actual name, but, Dr. Soltis, like, Dr. Sydney, like, all these amazing doctors came up with this idea. Last second, they said, "Do it," and we gotta hope for the best. So, that was, like, the number 1 thing that overcome after transplant, and I was living with that, and I'll just never forget that because it was so significant to me, and that's why my scar now, like, people are always like, "Oh, like, that doesn't make you insecure." I'm like, "No." Like, I
Yeah,
literally
right? You're like,
Tells
I
your
watched it.
journey. Yeah.
I
yeah.
watched this literally close. I was never supposed to close, and I'm completely closed. Like, my
My
stomach is
God.
completely closed up, and it wasn't supposed to. So I think that's a pretty cool thing to, like, show off, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. My God.
So, yeah, my scars go a lot deeper than I think people even realize. Like, it's not even a normal scar. Like, I watched it grow. So it's pretty
Right.
cool. The mental aspect after everything, I was on a lot of heavy hitter meds. I was, like, through a mental spiral. I've been, like, there was times where I was, like, seeing things. I was, like, hallucinating, like, in my room, like, at night. I have a journal, a very, very old journal somewhere. My mom has it, and it's, like, locked up somewhere. And it's all my thoughts, like, after transplant in the first, like, I think year. And there's
Mm.
some really crazy, like, dark
Mm.
things in there, and I literally said, like, the medicine's making me hear things, like, I'm hearing people tell me things, like, there's these voices telling me to do bad things, like, I don't understand, and I was like, "Mom, like, something's making me rage, like, there's something in me telling me to hurt myself, like, I don't know what's going on," and, like, I was sitting there, like, so scared, and so my mom called my pain manager, like, team at the hospital, and she was like, "Get her off. Like, she
'Cause
can't do this."
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you if you because I know you know other transplant, uh, people, kids too. Did
Mhm.
they experience the same thing?
Yeah. Like,
Okay. So
yeah.
it's common.
It's very common. I just personally, a lot of them, unfortunately, a lot of people don't say it, but I and my mom, like, like, me and my mom are so close, and I've always felt safe to tell my mom anything.
Yeah.
And so when I was having these really, really, really scary thoughts and, like, panic that I was gonna get sick again, panic that I'm gonna spike a fever, panic that I'm just gonna, like, drop, you know what I mean? Or, like, something's gonna go wrong. She
Right.
had to, like, sit with me and be like, "Jay, like, it's okay. Like, it's the early signs of developing PTSD. Like, I was developing
Wow.
all these traumatic feelings that are affecting me in my adult life in the hospital too.
Yeah.
So that foreshadow is crazy because I was a teenager. I remember all of
My
this.
gosh, yeah.
So now when I have to go to appointments by myself and I'm getting an IV, MRIs, CT scans, even those just send me into, like, flashbacks and panic sometimes, you know? And I remember all that starting to develop after transplant, which is just insane. So the psychological behavior behind it, we all suffer with. It's
It
just not talked
completely
about.
completely makes sense too, the
Hmm.
PTSD. Most of the time you think, "Oh, veterans, they're linked
Yes.
to that," but when you're explaining
PTSD or
it absolutely makes sense that you would have that because it's so I can't even imagine, it's so traumatic.
So
As
true.
exciting as it is when it works, still you have that trauma side to it as
trauma. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and you have to figure out your emotions, and like you said, you're a teenager too.
Hormones out of whack.
Right, right.
Like, already can't deal with myself, already hate myself. Like, what else am I supposed to do, you know?
Right? And
Right.
Jaycee, you talked about before when you had your first transplant, I believe you found out who what or that it was a male.
That was my second one. My
That was
second
your
one was a
second
little
one.
boy. Yeah.
A little boy. Okay, that's what I okay. I thought that's gotcha.
Yes. And so I was also dealing with survivor's remorse, you know what I mean? So like that was
Gotcha.
also a whole other
Right.
issue I was like dealing with mentally.
Right.
It was crazy. And then I recovered really well. I came home for Easter and I remember that. I was so happy to be home. I stayed out of school. So this was my freshman year of high school. My mom immediately got me back into like high school, like work like full time as soon as I got home. But I would go after hours in school and go for 3 hours. So I would do they somehow my high school, God bless them, they got somehow for me to pass as long as I took English and math. That's all I needed to do. And I was able to pass for my freshman year. So I did all of freshman year in 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was there every day, 5 days a week. I was there every day for only 2 to 3 hours, and they told me, like, you know, "If you feel sick, don't come in. If you can't do it today, don't worry about it." I was there every day. I didn't care. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm going in," and my mom was like, "You're passing and you are staying with your class. Like, do not let this make you fall behind." So I was like, "Okay."
Right.
I
So I
remember
would go in.
that your mom was, there, your biggest cheerleader, but being like, "Oh no, you're going. Like you got, you
Yeah,
know,
no upstands or buts. She didn't care if I
right,
woke
you're
up
gonna
throwing up.
yeah, you're gonna do
Yeah.
this and that's it, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're
She
gonna
was
go
like,
be normal, like like as normal as you could be right now.
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So I did it. I did it. And then my sophomore year went to high school, started day one, perfect, met, you know, new people, so on and so forth. Trying to find myself in high school because everyone was familiar with the hallways and
Right.
everybody in our grade and all of that. And I only knew people from middle school and they're all sophomores from I'll never forget this. From eighth grade to sophomore. Oh my God, does everybody even change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, people that I thought I was, like, friends with, they, like, didn't know how to, like, talk to me.
Yeah.
And then people that I was, like, in friend groups, I, like, wasn't because they had, like, a new friend group and I didn't know these people. Everybody was, like, smoking and drinking, and I was like, like, what is happening? All
Right.
these people were, like, together that I never would have thought would have been, like, couples. And then I found out, like, all the high school, like, drama, and I was like, "Oh my God, like, I can't do this. Like, get me out of here." But, like, let me just stay in my own lane as I do always. So, I wound up, you know, doing everything sophomore year. I went to school 7 a.m. to 2 o'clock, came home, did my whole bit. Every day I was there, very few misses. I
Were
was
you
in, you
afraid
know,
of getting sick? Like, were you or you just had to mentally tell yourself, "Stop thinking about that"?
I had to, yeah, stop
Yeah.
thinking. The best way I could put it is stop thinking, start living.
Gotcha.
You have to start living your life. Like, and I knew as long as I kept up my medicine, as long as I kept up with, you know, my fluids and all of that, things would start getting a lot better. And it's funny because me and my best friend Kylie from childhood, I think we talked a little bit about her in the last episode.
Yeah.
Kylie was there when we got the call that like I didn't need to be on fluids anymore. She was like at my house. Like she was there at my house when I was still wearing a mask and kind of staying like 6 feet apart from people before COVID even happened.
And she was
All
at
this
your
stuff.
high school, right? She's at that
Yes.
school you're okay, good.
And so we were, you know, in high school, like we were still very close, but she had all these new friends, and I was like, where's my best friend? Like, I miss my
Yeah.
best friend. So then I realized, okay, Jay, like, you need to start making new friends. And I also, not like new friends, I still had her, but just need to get myself out there. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
I was friends with everybody, made friends with almost everybody in my classes, guys, girls, everybody. I never wanted to date anybody in high school. Everyone always asked me if I was a lesbian or if I
Oh,
literally, I swear to God, if either, and I went to public school, so I've seen
yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything.
So you know.
I've seen and heard everything in public school. And so I hated, well, then I shouldn't say hate, but I did not like or find attractive anybody in high school. I was just friends with so many guys, and so many guys thought like I was just like fun and like nice. And so they would like talk about like their girlfriends to me. I'd be like, you're an a-hole. Like I called everybody out on all their like BS.
Love it.
Yeah,
It's
like
good because you don't
I
have
didn't
time for that now.
Yeah.
no, and I didn't care, and I knew I didn't think like them, and I didn't think I was, like, above anybody. I was just like, "Ugh."
You were just so
This is
much
so
you were so
dumb.
more
You're
mature.
like,
Yeah, it's like
right.
It looked dumb to you. You're like, "Oh my god," 'cause you
the girls that would, like I'll never forget this one girl I grew up with. She came in threw her book bag like across the classroom. She was so mad. It was 7:30 in the morning. We sit down in ceramics. She starts going off about this guy that she was like dating and like he cheated on her, blah blah blah. And I was like sitting there and I was like, "You're really this upset?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?" And she's like, "I'm gonna blow up his phone today, blah 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 blah." And I was just like, I
I
never want
know.
to deal with this.
Right, right.
So I knew that I just like process things differently. So sophomore year
Yeah.
happened. I met this girl. I met like one really bad friend. Had to like get rid of her like immediately. Tried ruining me in high school. Like had like normal teenage things happen to me like in high school.
Mhm.
But that's when I realized with her too. She was very manipulative, and then I learned how to have
Mhm.
boundaries with people. So that goes into my junior year. So junior year comes out, and I wind up getting called into an IEP meeting for me. And I was like, okay, I had an IEP just because of my medical stuff. Still left classrooms like 5 minutes early to go to like other classrooms, just to make sure like I was safe, I was healthy, so all that stuff. So I very much, what's it called? I was in this meeting and my mom wasn't there. Normally they called my mom and like would tell me that they called my mom to bring me down. So they bring me to the one room and they were just like, "Hey," at the time I started dabbling into makeup.
Mhm.
And I met this girl at camp at transplant camp. I should have brought that up. Transplant camp sophomore year I went that summer. So summer before junior year. And I met this girl Salma and she was an influencer online. Now I was still making YouTube videos at this time. Like I was still making content online, trying to be like a model. At like one point I like wanted to do all these things. So my main core was still like spreading the awareness of organ donation, showing people that like what can happen after transplant. Okay. So I meet this girl and she's telling me that she's a makeup artist. And I'm like, ew. Like, okay, but like good for you. Like, and I was like, oh, I'm an artist. Like I do fine art. Like I'm a painter, I'm a drawer, I do all these things. And she was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Meet this other girl. Her name's Ray. And she was my first friend at camp, her and Grace. And so Ray was like, "Oh my God, you could bunk with me. Like, this is so exciting. Like, you're a new camper, all this stuff." Me, Salma, and Ray wound up becoming like a trio. Okay. So this was the first time I was ever around people that were like me in like the medical thing because this camp is called Camp Chahopee, if you guys ever want to look it up. Children's in Pittsburgh sets up camps for all transplant kids, intestinal, heart, liver, all this type of different stuff. But like I only went to the camp that was like intestinal and liver. I didn't go to the camp that was like heart transplant.
Okay, so they were you the only one there with 5 organ or was wow.
I
Wow.
was one of the oldest, but other kids were on the list for it and stuff like that. So I was older, so I got to teach the kids, like I got to teach some of the like the younger kiddos, like
Yeah.
how to take their medicine, how to cap themselves. The one little girl, God bless her. I think about her all the time. She was too scared to cath and didn't want her she didn't want the nurses to do it and she wanted her mom. So Dr. Kyle said, "Come here," because all the doctors go to camp with us too. Like all
Oh
the
my god,
surgeons come to camp for the weekend. Yeah, it's so cool.
I love this camp.
It's so much fun. And so Kyle was like, "I need to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." So he was like, I need you to talk to this one little girl." And he was like, she needs to self-cath like you do, but she's too scared to." So I was like, "All right." I said, "Well, can I show her, like help her?" And I was like, "I need like an adult's permission to like do that."
Yeah.
So then he was like, "Yeah, I'll put you like with a nurse to do it." I said, "Okay." So I taught her how to cath literally that day, how to cath herself, which I'll never forget that. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
Just like giving her tips like, you have to stay relaxed. Like you have to remember to like keep yourself open. You have to keep yourself calm. Like you have to like think about where are you putting your hand? Where are you putting the catheter? We're women. Like there's multiple things that catheter can go into. And
Yes,
so
Right.
finding the
Several
right
holes down there.
find the
multiple
right
holes,
hole.
finding
Yes.
the right one,
Yes.
knowing the difference between that versus others. Like I had to kind of help her with that. And she was young, but like we know our bodies because we're medical kids.
Right.
So I literally helped her how to cast and like be comfortable with it. And she went home just self cathing. She didn't even want her mom to do it anymore.
It's amazing. So
That's great.
did you ever think about because of everything you've been through going into the medical field or were
Oh,
you
yeah.
yeah, you did. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I wanted
'Cause
to
you
be a
know so
doctor.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sophomore year of high school. I was looking in a university at Penn and Carnegie Mellon to go to school to be a doctor. I wanted to be a transplant doctor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
So then I met these girls at camp. I became very good friends with them. The one girl was a makeup influencer. I was obviously a content creator just in general. And I loved it, but she was getting paid. I was not. So I was like, and I just had fun with it. So we all stayed in touch. Me, Ray, and Salma, we all stayed in touch. And Salma was like, well, you're like an artist. Like, why don't you get in makeup? And I was like, no. My mom, I'll always say my mom's like an alternative girl, like alternative 90s girl. She would wear like jet black lipstick, thick eyeliner, big black hair, like full on like grungy fits and like a chain belt and
Yeah.
like combat boots. Like that's literally what I
Guns
wear
N'
all the time.
Roses, or what was her
And then
favorite
my
band?
sister, oh my mom, like she loves like Foo Fighters, like Guns N' Roses, like all them people.
Yeah.
And then my
Great.
sister was always like a Barbie doll, but like Snooki at the same time. So I was like, ew, like I don't like either one of these. I liked my mom's style, but I also don't. I don't want to do all of that. Like, I don't understand doing all of this, like makeup in your hair and all of that. My sister always wanted to be a cosmetologist. So my friend sent me a box of makeup and I was like, eh. At the time, James Charles, if you guys have ever heard of
Oh my
him,
gosh, I know James Charles. Yes.
yes, he came out onto the internet as a creative makeup artist and he started painting his face and his body and all of that. I
Mhm.
went, that's really cool. Let me try. Why not? Because I'm an artist. So I was like, why don't I just paint my body? Like, that'd be so cool. So I wind up actually buying his palette. I actually like bought a bunch of other makeup and I started painting myself every day. And then that's how I got into makeup. I was literally painting canvases like on my body and like recreating like all these like crazy things I was seeing on the internet of like movie scenes, like SFX makeup I got into and all this, but I could not do a full face of glam to save my life.
So
Yeah,
it was more like, what did you say it was? The more
creative. It was like a canvas.
creative, like canvas.
Right, right. Just like you would do
Exactly. I was
regular
my
painting.
canvas.
Wow.
So my friend Salma was like, "You should go like we should go live together." And I was like live streaming?" And she was like, "Yeah, I go live streaming on Facebook." And I was like, "What?" So I was like, "All right, yeah, you know what? Give me the whirl." All these people were like, "I love this girl. She needs to make a page." My friend Salma at the time, she was like, "No, she doesn't have one, but you can follow her YouTube channel." So then I was like, "Huh, like why don't I do this? Because I really like doing this, right?"
Yeah.
So I talked to my mom and I was like, "Mom, like, do you think I could be like a makeup artist like online?" And she was like, "Why not?" And I was like, "Okay." So I made a page, we made a page. I like ditched YouTube and my friend Salma, we fought a lot. Like she was not for this. She was very mad at me that I made like a page because all these people loved me, whole thing, but we were young and stupid, so it was like whatever. At the same time, I was like, "Girl, why?" Like we could build each other up, and she was like, "No, you're trying to steal my spotlight." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Like I could care less about you." But we actually grew together a lot on the internet, on Facebook. And before I knew it, I had hundreds of people watching me put on crazy makeup, and I was one of the youngest people on the app doing it, which was bad, but also really cool. So me and Salma were 17 at the time, and so we were underage. And so we had a lot of men, a lot of just older women. We had a lot of
Creepers?
people being not even creepers, it was people being obsessed with the idea of, "Oh my god, you could be my kid." And you have a and this was I'll always say is I never use my medical story to my advantage in certain ways, but I know how to perk people's ears. So like, I'm not stupid. Like I know people love a good story, it makes them feel something.
Absolutely.
So I go live, tell my story, 50,000 views within the first 3 days.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
like, okay, interesting. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to be known for my story because I did that. Like, I did YouTube, I did all of that. I'm creative, I'm an artist, I want to create art.
Right. This was different than what you had put out there before, and you wanted it to be different.
I wanted it to, but I knew my story was going to rack in the views to get people to see me, and then
Sure.
they could also
Right.
see my art. So I would tell my story, and then like 3 months later, I would do makeup all the time, da 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 da, do all these crazy things, reaching more and more people because that's how it works. Once you get traction, you can ride on that.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
can ride on that in a creative way. Everyone share, 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 share. All these people feel bad for me, so they share it to people that don't know my story. They see the art, then they follow me. So it was like a domino effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how all of that kind of started with me in the makeup. Then I go to this IEP meeting. My school knows I'm doing makeup. I made a makeup page. Everyone's following it. People are telling me it's cringy, it's stupid, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care. I'm having fun. So the faculty at my school was like, they knew I had, an online presence in a way. And they were like, do you want to go to cosmetology? And I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to go be a doctor.
Okay.
And so they were like, okay, well, we're thinking about setting up a program. This was 2 weeks before COVID happened. Okay. So they were like, we're thinking about setting up scholarships to send 2 kids to a trade school. We have cooking and we have cosmetology. I mean, we want one of you. We want you to be one of the kids that goes to cosmetology.
I just got the chills. I don't know. I don't know, but
This
yeah.
never ever occurred in my life to think that I'd be a cosmetologist. So I was like, "You're hilarious," and I was like, "I appreciate the offer, but like, I really don't want to because I'm gonna be in medical school. Like, I'm not gonna have time to be in cosmetology. Like, what are you talking about?" So they're like, "Well, it's a full ride. We'll pay for it. You'll do your senior year." So I'm a junior at the time. So they're like, "Next year, you'll start in September. You'll graduate high school with your ribbons of being already licensed. So then you can go to college right after high school. You'll already be licensed. You can work behind the chair. You could do whatever you want, but you'll be doing half college and half high school." So I was like, like, I don't know, like, I'll stay. And I was like, can I talk to my mom about it? So they were like, of course. My vice principal that was talking to me at the time, she was like, talk to your mom. So I go home and I'm like, Mom, and I'm like, I gotta tell you something. She's like, what? Tell her the whole thing. She was like, Jay, if you don't do it, you're stupid. And I was like, but Mom,
I
like,
think everybody saw your talents and they were like, maybe, you should try this because you're good.
so at this time, let me mind you, I never picked up a straightener in my life. I couldn't even curl a piece of hair. I couldn't straighten hair. I knew
That's funny.
nothing about anything. Like, I didn't even know that there was different combs to like brush your hair. Everyone had a hairbrush in the house. It was probably from the dollar store. Like, I knew nothing about anything when it came
Right.
to
That's
hair, makeup. I just like putting makeup on, and I wasn't even doing makeup. I was doing like creative
great.
makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did eyeliner in school, and that was it. Like, I used to put on eyeliner, blush, and like a rose gold. I'll never forget. It was like a single rose gold like eyeshadow, and that was what I went to high school with. So I knew nothing. My sister, on the other hand, had drawers of makeup and hair products and all this stuff. So I'm like,
So what did your sister say? Was she like, what?
she was like, huh? Like, what do you mean you get a scholarship to this
Right.
thing?
She's like, I've been
Good.
doing this like for, 4 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, like we were just like, what? So I actually wound up, my mom was like, Jay, just do it. And this was the reason why I did it. My mom always told me knowledge is power. You can't have there's no reason you shouldn't have so much knowledge, right? Like, always strive to keep learning and doing more and becoming better. So my mom said to me, and she said, well, let me tell you something. She said, you're 17 years old. She was like, you have an online presence. You're doing all this makeup, all these friends that you have online, all these other influencers and all this stuff. Not one of them are licensed. I've looked all of them up, right? She said, so why don't you get your license and you're the only one on the platform can call themselves a professional. And
Nice.
she was like, so you have a one up on everybody. She was like,
Yeah.
Jay, you'll make more money. And you're going to need money if you're going to med school. So
True.
I was like, that's a good business move. Like, I like that. Like, I like that idea saying, like, I'm a professional and you're not, right?
Right.
Also, I was demonstrating product. I'm reviewing product and demonstrating product. And she was like, Jay, you'll learn about the chemistry and all these things in school. Like, you will be able to say, you can listen to me and trust my opinion. I am a professional. Like, I am licensed. I know what I'm talking about. Textbooks right here, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, don't listen to these other people that are just trying to sell you something for a buck.
Right.
Like, you are literally a professional. So I was like, okay. So I wind up going.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so COVID happened,
Ugh.
crushed everybody. I was so happy. I was online every single day making my coin. I was making so much money. I was exploding on the internet at this point. I was reaching, I had like 50,000 views, which was going all the way up to like 900,000 views
Holy crap.
in a matter
My
of months.
God.
So were you still able to do school like online then?
Oh yeah.
So you're
Oh
still
yeah, I
doing
would do school in the
cosmetology.
morning. School in the morning from 7:30 to around 1 o'clock. I would do my homework, and then from 5 o'clock to because Devin worked from 3 to 6 at the time. So I would go online because we shared a bedroom. So I would go online from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock at night. and I would just do my thing. And then Devin would come home from work, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm offline for the night because Devin needed the room.
Okay.
So I would put in 3 hours of my day every day, acting like it was a full-time job. And I was just promoting product, making all this money, getting sponsorships, reaching all these people. I was on Instagram, Facebook. I wasn't on TikTok, but I was on Facebook and Instagram. And just those two platforms alone, I was reaching over 2 million people a month.
My God. And this is when you're combining high school and cosmetology.
No, so I wasn't even in cosmetology yet. I just told everyone that I'm going. So
Gotcha.
then
Gotcha.
senior year of high school happens. Cosmetology gets pushed from September to December. So
Because
I started cosmetology a week before Christmas. I still graduated with my ropes, like, because I was like National Honor Society. I had my ropes for cosmetology, but I wasn't licensed yet. So then I went to cos school. I did it from December of 2021 till December of 20 of like the next September into almost 2020. Does that make sense?
yes. Yeah.
I was the first one out of my class. I had almost perfect hours, which was our biggest fear with cosmetology school. And when we went and toured the school, my mom asked the teacher, shout out to Miss Curcio, she's one of the best people on the planet. She was my cosmetology school teacher. And my mom told her my story a little bit while I was walking around. Miss C's also from South Philly.
Nice.
So she automatically was like, where are you from? Like, to my
Yeah,
mom.
right.
And they clicked like instantly, and she was like, I'll take care of her. Like, she's gonna be fine. And my mom was like, I need you to understand, like, she knows nothing. She only knows makeup. And she was like, that's okay. She'll learn everything here.
They
So,
probably like that better because it's almost like a fresh start for them. Like,
yes,
do the right
exactly.
ways because
And teach you how to do it. Yeah.
you
Do
know
it
what?
their way.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is too,
Do
like,
it their
cosmetology
way.
school, like, it teaches you for state board. It doesn't actually teach you like what you need to be on the floor. So that's a whole other thing. But I actually excelled really well. And Miss C, I didn't even believe in myself, like, at all in cos. I was so afraid. I was so scared. And I was like, I don't know nothing. Like, I can't believe this. All these other girls know how to braid hair. They know how to curl hair. Like, they know what highlights are. They know how to color already. All that I knew how to do was the color wheel. That was it. So I was like all these girls have like a one up and I know nothing. So,
Right.
and this was the first time in my life too, it's gonna sound really bad. This was the first time that I wasn't at the top of like knowledge wise in my class. So I was
So
like
you were intimidated.
You were
very
uncomfortable, right?
intimidated.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was
The
only 8 of
discomfort
us.
of learning.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. So, I actually wound up being very healthy throughout my whole cos school career. It built me a lot of strength. I still have contact with my cosmetology teacher to this day, and I've actually taught at some of her schools too, which is really cool.
That's so cool.
So I didn't want to be behind the chair for hairdressing. I wound up behind the chair. The last 2 weeks of school. Normally, you start at like 600 hours. You start working behind the chair as like an assistant, shampooing, whatever. Yeah, no, I was already licensed and I didn't know how to be behind a chair really. So I just liked it. I liked the idea of being a hairdresser. So I never in my life, like even in school, I was like, I'll never be a hairdresser. Like, I'm never gonna cut hair. I'll never do that. Like, I'll go do makeup. Like, I'm gonna stick with makeup. I'm gonna do
Right.
makeup.
That side of it.
My teacher always told me, she was like, do not just like condense yourself. Like, you should learn a little bit of everything. You should want to do everything. And so I was like, all right. She's like, just stay open to everything for me. And she was like, you have it. Like, I know you do. And I was just like, okay. So we watched a video on platform artistry. And that was the first time in cos school. I think we were at 700 hours at this point. So 700 hours of schooling. And now I finally found something else I wanted to do. And this guy was up on a stage showing off Paul Mitchell products and how to use them. And I'm like, wait, I do that. But I do that online with like people watching me. Like, I don't do this on a stage, but I do this with hundreds of people watching me every day. So I was like, Miss C, like, what is this called? Like, what is this guy doing? She was like, that's platform work. And she was like, what you already do. Cause everyone knew that what I did online. And she was like, you could totally be a platform artist. And I was like, Miss C, I think that's what I want to do. And she was like, you should. And she was like, you have to be behind a chair first though. Like, you have to be a little bit behind the chair so you can teach people about,
Good.
time management and just, being around clients and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad she encouraged you and was like, no, 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 I know what you're good at, but you still need to do this, like well rounded.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I have such a love and appreciation for her. She's rough. She's a rough teacher, but she was also one of the best people I've ever met in my life.
Usually they are.
Yeah.
And she really believed in me, like, really believed in me when I didn't, and she helped me with so much, like, so much. So I'll always just love and adore her. But I graduated college school. My friend Gwen in school, she actually, we became like best friends in college school. She was a high schooler as well. She got a scholarship to go. Her mother also went to this program. Okay,
Oh,
the
okay.
same school that we were in, and her mom's name is Sunny. So I go in and hand in my paperwork. Gwen's there. She was like, "Oh my god, we haven't all seen each other in like 3 weeks, right?" So she was like, "Oh my god, Jay, like, how are you?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Gwen, I passed my test. Like, I'm licensed. I can't believe it. Like, I'm handing in all the rest of my paperwork to the state." And so Gwen was like, "Are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "I think I'm going to. Like, I really want to." And so Gwen was like, "My mom's hiring." And
Mm.
I was like, "Mama Sunny," which we met Sunny on the floor at clinic because Sunny would come in, talk to us as like young cosmetologists. She's a store owner and all the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Does
Sunny,
my color now.
and she does Kristen. So she was like, "My mom needs an assistant." And I was like, "Why are you not working?" And she was like, "I don't want to do it anymore." And I was like, "Okay." So yeah. And so I was like, "You know what? I would love to like be with Sunny. Like, might as well. Like, I love her. She's always watched me work." And she told Gwen, like, "I love the way that Jaycee works. Like, anything in school they threw at me, I would do, even though I didn't know what I was doing. But like perms, highlights, couldn't tell you what it was, but I was doing it." So
And
I
obviously
just
her mom was more of a teacher too because she, has been in the business for so long.
Exactly. So I actually went in for an interview, which I thought was an interview, but I was already hired. And me and Sunny just sat there, like in the salon. We were like relaxing, like literally just like how, anybody would, like best friends would. And she was like, "You're going to assist me." And she was like, "I'm going to unteach you everything in college school and show you the right way." And I was like, "Okay." So within 6 months, I was on the floor taking my own clients.
So
And
maybe
I was doing color corrections before I was even doing cutting. And so Sunny knew my strengths. And so she was like, "Start doing it." Like, she knew, she always told me, like, "I'm learning from you. You're my assistant, but I learn every single day from you. You are no less than everybody else here. We can all learn from each other. And like, we all love you. Like, we are here. I have your back. Like, do not worry if something gets messed up. You are my girl. Like, I will always have your back." So I felt very safe. And so I just started taking clients, bing, bang, boom. I was still doing online every single day. I was working online. I was in the shop, making all this money, doing all these things. Going back to school was like a whole idea out my head, and I was living my dream, like literally behind the chair.
Yeah.
One of my hairdresser friends called me up for an education job, and she was like, "Hey, do you still want to be like, do you want to do platform work one day still?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Why don't you be a teacher for a little bit and travel around schools to be a cosmetologist and show young cosmetologists about airbrush makeup and hair extensions," which I did both. So I was like, "Okay." So she signed me on. I started making even more money. I was working 3 jobs at a time. During all of this, during all of this too, I was healthy. Like, I was very healthy. My health is like impeccable, and I'm working 3 jobs. I
wow.
also fell in love with my first boyfriend, like my first like solid boyfriend, like first person was head over heels for. And that was just like the highlight of my life at the time. So
Yeah.
it was like new job, new relationship, like I'm living on
You're
cloud
just
nine.
great. Cloud 9.
Yes, and so I was making all this money and working all these jobs and meeting all these people, like I'm in love, like I'm so young and in love and so happy, and I was just living my best life. A year into so I was doing this for 2 years. So this is 2021 into 2023. And so I'm behind the chair doing all these things, immaculate, love it. Still getting blood work and stuff like that done, but everything comes back clean every single time. And then, out of nowhere, I started actually becoming allergic to the hair color. So my hands and my arms started getting these bumps after work. And I was like, "What is this?" And so we didn't know what it was. Like, no one could figure it out. About 3 months into my arms completely breaking out and bumps, my fingers and all this stuff, we figured out that I was allergic to PPD. So I had to get allergy testing done. I was in the ER twice for it.
Jeez.
My boyfriend at the time came into the salon to bring me lunch, and I was in the back room, and I had sleeves on. It was like 80 degrees outside. It was like summer. And he like looked at me, and I was washing a bowl out, like a hair color bowl, And he was like, Jay, and I was on my period like that week too, so already like in distress.
Yeah.
And I turn around and I look at him and I just had like my hands out like this. And he was like, are you okay? And I just broke down like crying. And I was like, it hurts so much. I'm in so much pain. I can't do this anymore. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I can't, like, I don't know what's going on. So he goes out and he was like holding me and he was like, Jay, sit down. So like I sit down, he was like, eat something, like drink something, like you're gonna be okay. And I was like, he was like, you need to go to the ER. Like he saw my
Yes.
hands and they were beet red and like inflamed. So, and I'm tiny, so anything inflamed on me looks crazy. And so my boss came into the back room and she was like, oh my God, like, are you okay? And I was like, Sonny, like, my hands are hurting me too much. Like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know what's going on. So Brian, at the time, that was my boyfriend's name, he actually wound up calling my mom. And he was like, Danette, you need to get her to the emergency room. Like this is not okay. Like she's not okay. And she's not going to tell you. Because again, I'm stubborn. So I was like, no, I'm not going to the ER. Like you're crazy. This is not happening. So 2 days later, we wound up going to the ER that night. They gave me fluids, checked transplant, everything was fine and clean. Wind up getting me into dermatology the next day. Did an allergy test. 2 days later, we found out allergic to PPD.
Okay.
I called my cosmetology teacher. I said, what's PPD? And I said, I'm allergic to it. And she was like, oh my God. And she was like, are you serious? And I said, yeah. And she was like, Jay, you're allergic to hair color and like everything inside of it. She was like, PPD is the alkaline agent to open up the cuticle to deposit the color. So it's literally in everything. So it's an alkaline derivative. So alkaline versus like acid. Alkaline's it's a very high pH. So it's very, very strong. It's a very, very strong chemical, right?
So this might
Yeah.
sound like a silly question, but would you be able to wear gloves and it would
So
be
I was, and they were making it worse. So it actually wound up, I get contact dermatitis from it. So anything that touches me after I'm already inflamed makes it 10 times worse. Water makes it worse. The acids and shampoo and conditioners, treatments, everything makes it worse. Now I'm a hairdresser. I'm a color correction specialist. I'm
Yeah.
touching bleach, chemicals, peroxides. I mean, I have gloves on, double gloves, everything. I'm inhaling it. Hairdressers inhale this stuff.
Yeah.
So that my whole life turned upside down when I found out. But I was like, I don't care. I'm sticking it out. Like, I'm going to do this. So I stayed behind the chair for a year. About 6 months later, started becoming allergic to even the peroxides, the lightener. Like, I became allergic to even household cleaner. My mom used to spray oh my God, my mom used to spray our beds with Lysol, like a can of it. And she thought we were sick.
That's such an
I
old school thing. Yes, it is.
Dude, I'm telling you, and I couldn't even smell that without feeling like I was gonna throw up. Like I became allergic to like everything at that point.
Wow.
So 6 months later, I also started having really, really bad cramps. And I couldn't understand why. My boyfriend was like, I don't understand like why, we don't know what's happening, but I'm in a lot of pain when I get my period. So I'm getting dizzy. I'm like behind the chair. I feel like I'm gonna like pass out. I'm still like inhaling everything, contact dermatitis, whatever. I'm like, I don't care. I love what I do. I'm gonna do this. So my back's like getting hurt. My legs are hurting me really bad. My arms are sore. I can't sleep at night. I'm nauseous. I can't eat anything without feeling like so sick to my stomach. So I'm like, what is going on?
Something's yeah.
Now, mind you, I'm in perfect health behind the chair. So I'm like, okay, like why all of a sudden, right? My mom was like, you need to make your first gynecologist appointment. She was like, you have a boyfriend. You need to start making sure that everything is okay. Like, you need to make sure that, everything's protected and you don't have any issues. And I was like, okay. So I make a gynecologist appointment. I go to my first gyno. We check everything. Everything's clean. Great. Love it. So then the symptoms start getting worse. And she told me, she was like, let me know if things start getting worse. Because it's only around your period, which makes sense. We all have issues when we're on our period. But she was like, maybe, just from transplant, yours are a little bit more severe. And I was like, okay, I'm going to prescribe you some nausea medicine. If you need to take Tylenol, take some Tylenol. But if it gets worse, let me know immediately. So I said, okay. We talked about birth control. We wanted to get me on birth control anyway for just multiple reasons. But then the dizziness started getting worse. So I held off on birth control for a while because I was just like, I don't want the hormone issues and all of that. I'm scared of it. Then I was behind the wheel and I was following one of my hairdresser friends actually to her salon suite. and I had to pull off to the side because I got really, really dizzy. I felt like I was going to faint.
And it's not your iron, because I know that can do that, right?
No, like blood work, perfect health,
Okay.
like crazy. So I called her, Becca, and I was like, Becca, like I need to pull over. So I pulled over and she was like, okay, like she was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. So she pulled over too. And I was like, don't come to my car. Like just stay in your car. So I'm sitting there and I'm like this, like at the wheel. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm like 35 minutes from home. Mommy's working. She was working at a bank at the time. And I was like, Devin's at work. Like everyone's at work. And I was like drinking water. Like, and I was like, what is going on? That next day I called my gynecologist and I was like, I had like a really scary like episode. It did pass after like 20 minutes, but still, that's way too long.
Yeah.
And so my gynecologist was like, come back in. So we looked at my family's history and we found out that my mom and my grandmother had endometriosis. So she was like, okay. She was like, well, your family, she was like, the woman in your family, there is a little bit of a past of having some, diseases. She was like, I don't know if you're there at that point. She was like, but I think she was like, I'm going to diagnose you with period flu. I said, what the heck is period flu? And she was like, a lot of girls get it actually. She was like, you have flu-like symptoms when you're on your period. And I was like, what? The week before, the week of, the week after, you feel like you have the flu, which was happening to me with my back, my body hurting, the aches, the pains, the cramps, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was like, you need to get on birth control. And she was like, I'm going to give you, she was like, I want you on Nexaplon. Call transplant. Transplant's like, get her on it if it makes her feel better. So we get it in me. I was like, all right, like, hopefully this helps. What was happening was my proestrogen, I think it's called.
Progesterone?
Pressure, yes, that one. So that was dropping. So like that proestrogen was dropping, and then my estrogen would either skyrocket or drop with it, which was giving me that feeling of passing out and having all these issues. And then my obviously like any other hormones were just like we couldn't regulate it. So the Nexaplon that I have on my arm, that's one of the birth controls, and that helps all the levels stay steady.
Okay.
So that's why we put me on it. Great, loved it. Months goes by, I feel so much better. I'm like having only contact dermatitis now. So that keeps getting worse, but whatever. I don't care. I'm still loving what I do. I'm having some pain, but not really. Last March, I out of nowhere ended up in the ER. I was in so much pain. We found out I have ovarian cysts and they grow to the size of an apple, which is beautiful. And that was absolutely killing me. I thought I was in rejection, like active rejection from transplant from how much I was in pain.
So they never checked that, or
It was never really a thing that we thought we needed to.
Gotcha. Because they just thought you're on this pill now and that's helping.
Yeah.
So, but that during that time, it was still growing, the cyst.
It was still growing. So that's where a lot of the back pain was coming in too. And so my gynecologist, she was like, let's get an MRI. We get an MRI. I did an internal ultrasound, all of that stuff, got all the tests done. And then that's when we found out I had chronic cysts. And then also we found out that I have endometriosis. Then it all clicked, like everything clicked. So this happened a week before I went to my first California trip for a brand. And my boyfriend was like, not beside himself, but this is when everything with me and him also like changed. So I got diagnosed with all this new stuff. I'm suffering with contact dermatitis. We go to California, something between me and him happened. And then I was like down bad because I'm like, why is my whole life getting turned upside down? Like, why I'm gonna kill, like, I feel like I'm gonna kill somebody like every day when I wake up. Like, I am in rage and I'm not like that.
And you were on such a
Mhm.
high too, of everything just going so well. That's
Well,
all of a sudden, your
boom.
things are, yeah, right? One after,
Within a matter of 3 months, which felt like a
Yeah.
whirlwind.
yeah,
Like everything kind of fell apart, right?
right.
Yes. So, and at the time we just hit our 2-year mark. So I was like, I'm like expecting like a ring at this point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm excited.
Right.
Like, and then this whole thing went down, and then I was just like, oh no. So California was a blast. Loved everything in Cali. I was living my happy best life there. My hands healed up while I was there and everything. So I was away from the hair color for a week.
Okay.
Came home and then everything started getting worse again. So I wind up just dealing with this for like a year. I started, well, not even really a year. I guess not, because it was,
Like
yeah,
6 months, maybe.
yeah, it was well, no, because it was from March Is March to this March
October.
year? I forget. When is it, 2025? I've been dealing with this for 2 years now.
So what do they do for you? I can never say that. Endometrius.
Endometrius. So yeah, so we wind up going to Pittsburgh. The first appointment was in March. That summer, we wind up going to transplant stuff, just like yearly checkup.
Okay.
Told them about the, they knew about the cysts and the endometriosis. They were like, we're gonna watch it, but like we're just gonna kind of talk about it, but we don't know what to do because now you have to realize I'm getting to adult. So I'm opting out of children's very soon. So I'm getting during all this too, I'm switching from childcare to adult care, which
Right.
is a headache and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm like fuming at doctors. I'm telling doctors, like, get out of here. I'm like, I'm not ever seeing you again. I'm like putting them in their place. They're like telling me, well, we don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you're stupid. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you have a PhD. I have a bigger PhD than you. Like,
Yeah,
they're like,
you
you
get
call yourself a specialist, but you don't know how to take care of me. Like, I
But
don't,
you can't do anything for me. Yeah.
like, seriously. And they're like, well, like, you're too complex. I'm like, no dip, Sherlock. That's why I'm seeing you. Like, I
thanks,
was
Captain Obvious. Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
So I went through a few adult doctors already. And then I wound up, like, fast forward all the way to pretty much just in October, last October 2024, suffering all this stuff. Me and my boyfriend at the time, like, we were just kind of like, there was just always constant issues after that California trip. Tried making it work, couldn't make it work. I was crumbling. So last summer was the worst time of my life, and I will say, like, I knew then. I actually wound up doing his highlights, and because I highlight his hair all the time. And that day, I guess I breathed in too much lightener. That night, I almost went septic in my bed, and
God.
I knew I almost did. And so I woke up the next day, and instead of just the contact dermatitis being on my hands and my arms, it was all over my body.
God.
I have never been insecure in my life, despite everything I've been through. Never been insecure. I looked in the mirror and I felt like I was gonna throw up because I was like, what is going on? Like, this is not my body. There's something extremely wrong. And that night, I almost had a fever. Like, I did spike a fever. I had all these issues. I drugged myself with Tylenol and Benadryl. Went into work the next day. Probably shouldn't have. Don't know why I drove, but I was just on repeat. Like, I was like, work, 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 work. Like, I don't care. And I distract myself with work too. So all this pain I was feeling,
But
walk in
your
the
body
salon,
telling you something, it's not right. Like you
it's not
can't.
right. And that was the day I knew I had to leave the salon. So I said, I'm going to give myself till October. And me and my boyfriend at the time, we were talking about, what's going to be our plan. I was the moneymaker. So I was bringing all this money. I had all this stuff going on. He was trying to build his dream life, whatever. And so I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I went to dermatology and came home, called transplant, da 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 da. Told my mom I wanted to move out at the time. I wanted to move in with him. We were looking at our own place. I was doing all these things. I knew that I wanted to do creative makeup again. I'm still online at the time telling everybody everything. All of this is recorded and like on video everywhere.
Because you can still do the creative makeup part because
Yeah,
that
but
doesn't have the dye in it, right?
no, yeah, no, I'm still fine with makeup and all that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then so fast forward till the end of August of last year. So I knew into August and September, I knew that's when I was going to leave. October 1st was going to be the day that I was going to leave the salon. My landlord called me. She's actually like family to us. And she said, are you still looking to move out? And I said, yeah. And I was like, actually, yeah. And so she was like, I think we're gonna rent our one space out. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah, I would love for you to be here. I was like, okay. And I said, she was like, give me some time though, because I don't think we're gonna do it for a little while. I said, okay. My boyfriend at the time found this place closer to his work, which was like an hour away. And so we were like, all right, like maybe we'll move up there because, I'm leaving the salon. There's nothing for me to stay right here
Right.
for. And within, I also knew that I could do teaching still because I was with the teaching company at the time, still doing stuff. So we still had a plan of like how we were going to make money and like pay for something. So we thought that moving in together would make things better. And I always said like if we moved in together, it would either make or break us.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that in my heart. I knew that in my heart. The last week of September, I put in my 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of September, I put in my 2 weeks for the salon. My teaching company went under out of nowhere. Woke up to a phone call to the teaching company, went under. Whole thing happened. I'm like, you're joking me. So now I'm working online and I'm still working online, but I know I'm not making enough money because I'm working full-time jobs, in the real world, not even just on the online world. So I had a mental breakdown like in my mom's kitchen, and she said, and I really needed to like get my own space at this point. Like I was at my peak of being at home.
Mhm.
And so my mom was like, "What can I do?" My mom's never seen me like that, like ever just break down, like just out of nowhere. And I was like, "Mom, like, I need to move out. Like, I need to get out of here." And she was not for it for a long time. And then she was like, "Okay." And she was like, "You need to. If you need to, you need to." And she's like, "If that's what's going to make you feel better, you need to." And I said, "I can't not have a job right now because I worked for the last 2.5 years with 3 jobs. If I need to do like makeup online full time again, I need my own space. I can't depend on when Devin's gonna come home and need the room.
Yeah.
I can't work around your work schedule. Like I need my own place to
Space.
thrive and make content all day long, do all these things." So, my whole life like fell apart. And then I told her and I said, "I don't know if we're gonna last. Like me and my boyfriend." And she was like, "Okay." And I was like, "But I think moving in together is going to help." And she said, "If you think that, I'm trusting you." She said, "But it could turn south." She said, "I need you to have a backup plan."
Yeah, yeah, that was good.
And I was like, "I know I do." And I said, "I'm just praying that this works, right?" So, my landlord called me the next week and my whole life was like apart. Told my boss I had to leave. We cried the whole bit. I felt like truly my whole life, like I told everyone, I was like, "I'm going to become bitter from this." I was living my dream life. I don't understand why it's getting taken away from me. I
Right.
suffered my entire life to build what my literal dream, and now it's being taken away from me all because of my health. Like, you're
Yeah.
joking me. Like, I have to reinvent myself again, make it work again, build a whole new dream again. And there was so much stuff that also happened, like, in between. I was ready to move to California. I had a school lined up that I wanted to go to, but because of my health, I knew I couldn't leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
ready to pack up my whole life and move across the country to be in a creative makeup school and work on film sets and do all these things. And then the endometriosis made me too sick.
Ugh.
And so I was like, I can't move to California and live this dream now. Now I have to create a whole new dream.
Yeah.
So I wound up October 1st, I wound up just settling on this place. I knew that he was not for it, and I knew it. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I said, I give us a month. Right. Like in my head, I'm like, all right, like I got to start preparing myself for this breakup. Like my first love, I'm already shattered. My heart for my whole life is broken. Like my dreams are crushed. I hate
Yeah.
myself. I hate everything. And now the one person that
Yeah.
I want in my life, I know they're going to leave. Like I know it. So, and I knew, and we're both very mature. And I knew we were going to do it before the holidays to not deal with the whole family and traveling and this and like all that stuff. So we had a trip lined up in October to go to Salem, Massachusetts, which was like my dream to go to. So we both knew what was going to happen. And we were like, we need to make this trip. Like, we need to make it last for this trip, right? So it was my second week moved in. He only moved in like 2 bags of stuff.
Mm,
Never slept here, was never here, acted like it was way out of the way, the whole bit. Which I'm 10
Yeah.
minutes away from home, which is where he lives too, like near close to my mom's. So I was like, okay. So I was at my grandparents, and my grandparents came over. I was there, and I told my grandma because she was like, "Well, what are we gonna do for Thanksgiving? And how many people? And blah blah Christmas." And I said, "Well, grandma," I said, "I think you don't have to count on one." And she was like, it was just me and them. And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Grandma, we're not gonna make it through the holidays." And she was like, "You're going to Salem this weekend." And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I will be, but like when we get home, like it's gonna be over." So, and I said, "I know it." So my grandpa came over my house the day before I left for Massachusetts. It was just him, which was weird. And he was walking around the house. He was like, "I'm just doing inspection." And I said, "Okay." So he's walking around. My bags are packed and everything. He said, "Where's his bags?" And I said, "Well, he never brought anything over yet." And he was like, "It's gonna be okay." And I was like, "I know."
yeah.
And he was like, "You don't need any man in the world besides your pop." And I said, "I know." So I knew that he knew now. And I was just like,
Yeah.
is this really gonna happen? Like, part of me had hope and like hanging on to it, obviously. And then when he said that, I was like, oh my God, like now I'm gonna go through a heartbreak. Like, I cannot do this now.
And maybe they
Yeah.
saw it too. Oh, like it seems
Everyone
like
did.
yeah, like
My mom saw it in like the summer and she was like, "Are you guys okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, mom, like it's fine, like it's whatever, like not,
right,
just
right.
blowing it off," which I shouldn't have, but whatever.
So how was the weekend? Like, you did go?
We went. Yeah, we went. It was like I went with my best friend. Like I knew that I didn't have a boyfriend for months. And that's like what I know now. We both wish each other very happy. He's happy. He's living in his own life. He's doing his own thing. I'm living my life. Yada yada yada. No hard feelings. Now, like now after, like, when you find out like more truths and stuff like that, you're like I really can't stand you. Like there's like certain parts of me that are like that, but I really do wish him well and everything in me. I'll always be grateful for what we had, and I'll always be happy that he was my first like full on like boyfriend for
Yeah,
years.
he
And
was, like, nice and respectful and,
yes,
like, a
and helped
good
me grow in so many ways.
right, right.
So, but I'm not taking it anymore. Like I had to reinvent everything about me, and I'm going through hard times, and if you can't be there and be up to par, I can't have you around. Like I'm not
Right.
going to settle, and I'm not going to have a mental problem because of somebody else. Like you're crazy.
You got enough on your
So,
plate.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we broke up, and I said this is the first normal thing that's ever happened to me, was having my first heartbreak. That's what got me through my breakup, and that was it. And then I've been living here. I'm still content creating, and I'm currently a travel hair and makeup artist. I'm learning updos and stuff like that. We still rack in a couple 100,000 views a month, like one line, which is good.
Love it.
I'm starting my own teaching program. I'm currently actually this week I'm starting to like get it into business.
Right, so I was gonna say that to you, like, you didn't need that company, you could just do it on your own.
I'm hoping and praying I can because that's the next adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I feel like you put, look at all that you've done. Like you put your mind to it
Yeah.
and you put up with the discomfort of learning and like not knowing things and you just keep going. Like you just do it anyway.
you're like
Exactly.
Energizer Bunny, like, you just keep
Right.
Constantly remake. I always say like I'm constantly thinking of new things, like constantly coming up with new ideas. Like I'm like go 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 go. Like this don't work. There's a next thing. Like there's a will. There's a way. Like I will. One thing about me, I will make it happen. Like do not think I won't, because I
yeah,
will.
and you will.
So.
Right, right, right.
I remember living on my own too, and I remember before I moved out to my apartment, because I really wanted to get out too. I said
Mhm.
to my Aunt Ro, I can't, like, if I'm looking at my finances, like, I can't do it. Like, I can do it, but like maybe I can't eat, like
Yeah.
shop and stuff. And she's like, you're gonna do it
Yes.
and it will work and you're gonna make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And she was so right. Like, yeah, there were tough times, tough weeks,
Absolutely.
tough months, but you find a way when, and it absolutely was. And it's so nice that you had your mom's support through everything.
Oh yeah.
And by support, I mean she didn't baby you either, right?
No,
So she,
no. A lot of other people did, but she didn't. But
yeah,
I also know I'm her baby. Like I could go to her about
right,
anything.
right. Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
Yeah.
she comforted you, and I'm sure obviously she was there and stuff, but I just love that she was so strong for you and was able
Mhm.
to push you and to the wonderful person that you are today because you're
Yeah.
so strong.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she believed in you and she made you like believe in yourself.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh
right.
yeah, every day she does. It's like it's so crazy. Even like my grandpa even always says he's like, if it's gonna happen, Jaycee's gonna make it happen. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen somebody just like come up with stuff and make it like work. Like even now, like I do fine artwork again. Like I wanted a place to like create artwork. I started selling all my artwork and my prints again. So like I have that side business, and then now the teaching and online. I promote products, work with companies. Like I'm thinking about going back to college too. Like there's a bunch of stuff that I kind of just keep coming up with and just doing, giving it a whirl. Why not try it? Don't work out, don't work out. Like, what else is
Yeah.
new in my life? You know what I mean? So,
And even just
yeah,
your story, and you can just inspire so many people with
yes.
just your ability to keep going.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you have to. You have to.
Right.
Your
Like,
bounce back rate is very high.
Yeah.
yes. And
It's very
it
good.
really, I really am shocked that I am not more mental than I am, because like I know everything I've been through would probably cause someone to be like a psychopath. But like I know the way that I process things is so different from so many, and like again, like I really do trust that God has a plan for me.
Absolutely.
And I want to be shocked if even more. Like I always say my life's like a movie. Like it's just like unreal how much of a movie it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just like I want to be shocked if more of that stuff keeps happening, and like I'm not perfect. Like, I'm constantly changing and I'm constantly growing, and I'm very much Taurus, like thick and through. And I'm stubborn, and I just have so much love to give, and I love everybody.
Yeah.
I live out of my heart. It's what helped me survive. The reason why I even survived everything is because I'm stubborn. Like, and I know that.
That's a good thing though,
Yeah.
like being stubborn and, it's a good thing and you just have a lot of self-worth and you're
Yes.
very mature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're just such an inspiration. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Even to me, I'm like, I need to get my ass up and do
Yeah. I
And
know,
you're
right?
like, "Yeah, I had
I
a 5
know.
organ transplant, now I'm working 3 jobs," and I'm like, "Oh my god," like, it's just amazing.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah,
No, I know.
definitely.
You're inspiring.
Thank you.
So inspiring. Keep up.
Yeah.
Keep what you're
I
doing.
was,
It's
yeah.
it's wonderful, and, just even how, like Kristen said, you just bounce back and you just
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it truly
That's
is amazing.
Thank
the
you.
mind is, it's like my tattoo. The mind is everything what we think we become, right? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Mind
no,
over
and
matter always.
You
yeah,
definitely
totally.
are, and Jaycee, I loved your quote. I think you said your mom said to you, "Stop thinking and start living."
Mhm.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Get
that.
out of your head, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
Stop
literally.
thinking about all the limitations and start just doing it,
right.
Oh yeah.
But
you know?
Jaycee, you're a complete product of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah. I'm like, I'm like, all right, I wrote a bunch of people years ago about you. I'm like, I'm just going to do it myself. Going to get your story out there
Uh,
yeah,
I know.
somehow.
I need to write it down and like send it to a bunch of people too, because there's so many things I want to do. I just don't know how to write it down. Like I know how to talk about it. I don't know how to write
Yeah.
it. That's like a
Chat
complete.
GPT, chat, put in chat, it'll write it for you.
you
That's
can
true.
get like Jaycee should write like or have someone write for you, but like a book, you could write a
I've always wanted to write a book. I'm actually am
yes.
trying
Yeah,
to.
Writers, I think, like you
yeah,
can get a ghost writer.
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
You say it, they
Hmm.
write it, like
Hmm.
100% people would buy that and read it and just feel
Yeah.
like inspired by you.
I love that.
Definitely a
Thank you.
thought. But
Well, thank you
yes,
again.
so
And
much for
we're
coming on.
going to be keep checking in on you, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Yeah, of
we'll have
course.
our JC updates.
I'm so
Yes.
excited. Yeah, I know, right? I feel like every like 6 months we could do like an update on
Yeah,
me
Yeah,
because there's
right?
always something crazy happening. Like literally, like now we're in the works of like getting me a hysterectomy too for everything and trying to deal with that, all the endometriosis and all that. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, like
We will. We
absolutely.
will check in with you.
Yes,
yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so
yes,
much.
no problem. I'll talk to you guys soon.
we'll talk
All
soon.
right. Love you.
Thank you. Bye. Love you too. Bye.
Bye bye.